I'm going to keep this straightforward because I know a lot of you have been scrolling through endless amp listings, wondering whether a vintage-styled head like this actually lives up to the hype or just adds another box to the shelf. The question most people ask is, will it sound good in my bedroom, on a small coffeehouse stage, or when I'm tracking a demo, without breaking the bank or demanding a whole rig? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In the next few minutes I'll walk through the real-world experience of the Fender 57 Custom Champ, point out where the value really sits, and tell you who will get the most out of it and who might want to look elsewhere. First, a little context about the Champ line. The original 5-watt tweed Champ has been a staple for decades because it delivers a surprisingly full tone from a tiny speaker cabinet. Fender's 57 Custom is essentially a modern reinterpretation of that classic, hand-wired circuit with a few tweaks that make it a bit more versatile for today's players. The headline specs, a 5-watt tube power section, a 6-inch speaker, and a simple control layout are easy to find, but they don't tell you how the amp behaves once you plug your guitar in and start playing. I started by setting it up the way most beginners do, a standard 12-foot guitar cable from a Strat-style single coil, plugged into the input, and cranked to a comfortable practicing volume. What struck me immediately was the immediacy of the response. The amp is hand-wired, which gives it a slightly looser feel compared to printed circuit boards you'll see in cheap practice amps. That loose feel translates into a richer harmonic content when you play clean. The mids are warm without being muddy, and the highs have a pleasant edge that doesn't become shrill even when you push the gain. In a real-world bedroom setting, you can get that tube soul sound at a volume that won't wake the neighbor, something a lot of larger, higher wattage amps can't promise. Now, let's talk about flexibility. The 57 Custom has 3 main knobs, volume, tone, and a master that essentially blends between a clean channel and a slightly overdriven channel. That master knob is where the wide variety of playable tones claim actually shows up. Turn it down and you have a sparkling clean that works great for jazz, country, or any style that relies on clarity. Turn it up halfway and you get a sweet, slightly crunchy breakup that's perfect for indie rock or blues. Push it close to full and you're in a low-gain, tube-saturated zone that still feels articulate. You can hear each string's attack without the sound turning into a mushy wall of distortion. For players who need a single amp that can cover a range of genres without swapping pedals or rigs, this is a genuine strength. That said, the amp does have some practical limits. At 5 watts, you won't be able to fill a 500-seat venue with the same presence as a 30-watt combo, and you'll need a good mic and PA if you want to play a small club. The lack of built-in reverb is another trade-off. Many modern amps include at least a modest reverb circuit, and the Champ deliberately leaves that out to stay true to its vintage roots. If you rely on reverb for atmospheric parts, you'll either need a pedal or a separate rack unit. The speaker is a single 6-inch unit, which is great for that focused tone but can feel a bit thin if you're after a big, room-filling sound. Finally, being a tube amp, it does require occasional bias checks and occasional tube replacement if you push it hard, which is something a solid-state beginner might not expect. Who should consider buying the 57 Custom? If you're a guitarist who values tone authenticity over sheer volume, this amp is a solid match. It shines for home practice, songwriting, and recording sessions where you want a natural tube character without needing a full-stack mic setup. It also works well for small gigs like coffeehouse sets or open mic nights, especially if you pair it with a decent PA. Players who appreciate a hand-wired circuit and the subtle nuances that come with it will notice the difference right away. The price point places it in the mid-range of boutique amps, but the heritage name and the craftsmanship give you a level of confidence that many cheaper alternatives can't match. On the flip side, you might want to skip this amp if you're hunting for high-gain metal tones, need a lot of headroom for loud band rehearsals, or rely heavily on built-in effects like reverb or delay. The 5-watt output means you'll have to keep the amp close to the microphone in a live setting, which can be a logistical hassle for larger venues. If you're a gigging musician who needs to plug into a PA and still have the amp audible on its own, you'd likely be better served by a 15 or 20-watt combo that offers more inherent loudness. Also, if you're not comfortable with the idea of tube maintenance,